There you go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Monday morning where we are confused, first of all, because StreamYard managed to change some stuff. So that's the biggest parts of the confusion. And we are freaking grumpy because it was yet another miserable weekend. But Mateusz is back in action. What's happening?
Miserable, and there's snow on the ground, and it's only November 10th, and everything is just stupid right now.
The snow is a little stupid. The good news is it's actually supposed to really warm up towards the end of the week. Warm up for November. Like we're talking like 60s and stuff like that next weekend, supposedly. So it will change 10 times by then because this is Chicago. Alan is here. Good morning, Alan. Yeah, it's going to be one of those. International break is here too. So in some ways, it's funny because we were talking about this with my brother yesterday for not for rival bros, but for like the Fenerbahce thing, because Galatasaray is losing points. Fenerbahce cut it down to 1 from 6 and stuff. And we were kind of talking about, is it better or worse for the international break to come in a time like this, where Fenerbahce closed up 5 points within the last week or whatever. And we were kind of torn because in some ways you want to keep going because the momentum is there. But in some ways it's a little torturous for the side losing points, which is the case in our situation where you have 2 weeks now to kind of eat your brain over it.
I think this happens every international break. No matter which way the weekend ends before, you're either going to be ruminating and being miserable for 2 weeks to thinking about what the hell just happened, or you're going to be miserable because you were on a good stretch and you didn't want it to stop. So in all, international break just makes everyone miserable all the time. That's pretty much where we're at.
Pretty much. Ozan says I'm still depressed. I am as well. I mean, it's almost like having Costas and Nalo starts every game or something. I'm at that rate. I don't know, man. It's really difficult to watch this team right now. And I don't know what is more difficult, like watching the team trying to figure out how the hell is this even possible, looking at the squad, right? Like looking at what you have, or like seeing some of the like over the top reactions to what we're seeing, whether it's players or the manager. And I guess I'm really torn on because we're all looking for somewhere to point the finger at, right? And I'm confused in terms of, I think the easy one is the manager because it's an all-in-one package kind of thing. Well, everybody sucks, so it's his fault kind of a deal. And I do get the theory behind that, but where are you at with that? I think that's like the confusion is coming from. It'd be one thing if it's like Nunez is missing everything, that's why, or something like that. That was a lot easier where we could pick one person. Whereas now it just feels like, what is going on?
It's Dejan Lovren's fault, honestly. I think that's where we're at.
You know what? Damn right.
So I think as fans, especially, we're fickle fans because it's all lose-lose. Because what happened was going into the stretch of Villa, Real Madrid, and Man City, fans were miserable and they said, hey, we need some sort of result in these next 3 games.
Yep.
You pick up a good win against Villa and you go, great, that's 3 out of 9. Maybe we can get one more decent result against Madrid or City. You get a good result against Madrid. And then you're on a high thinking, hey, if we just get 3 points from City, that's a great, great rebound. Meanwhile, before the 3 games started, you would have taken any result from any of those 3 games for some fans. And those same fans got 2 good results and all of a sudden want to burn the team down again because of this poor result. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be criticizing the team or be upset with the team, but you can't go back and forth so often all the time and make it and feel like you're always in the right, because that's not how it works. And hindsight's 2020. Every single fan, probably 99% of fans, said go with the same team that you had against Madrid. Do the same team. And only now, after the game, are people going back and saying, well, we should have done this and we should have done that, we should have done that?
Yeah.
No, you didn't want that to begin with because you wanted the same 11. You asked for the same 11. You got the same 11, right? I think, unfortunately, that same 11 can't play 3 times in 8 or 9 days. You can't have what we saw from Mo against Villa and against Madrid with how he was pressing and how he was playing defensively. He doesn't have that in his legs anymore to do it for 3 games. So unfortunately, this was the game where he didn't have the legs for it. City usually throw a center back at him along with the left back. They didn't do it this time because Pep knew Mo just doesn't have the legs anymore. And these are the kinds of games Mo usually turns up for, and he didn't turn up. And while I understand that, tactically there are probably some things that Slot can do differently, sometimes your players don't do what you want them to do, and sometimes the other manager outsmarts you. And that's what happened, I think. I think Pep just outclassed Slot.
I thought you were trying to make that word. Come on. Don't give up on it. Don't give up on it.
Out tactical. Pep won this battle. Slot got the best of Pep 2 times last year, and Pep got the best of Slot this time. And honestly, I think the players left a lot to be desired as well.
Sparky says, think he put out our strongest team. Ryan says, super excited seeing the lineup. Good morning, Justin. Oh, he's in your. Are you like in actual Schaumburg?
Closer to
your
me.
neck of the woods.
Well, I'm not going to say exactly where I am because internet.
Undisclosed location, but he's very close to you, Justin.
I'm closer to Schaumburg than I am to Chicago.
Yes, a couple of hours away somehow, still from me, but I'm in Chicago land as well. Not Chicago. People get mad when we say we're from Chicago, by the way. We're not considered Chicago people. The fans are not to coach play games instead of Konate. Oh, Gomez. I'm sorry. Whoa.
I know it should have been. It should have been a Z. I know.
That's maybe that's why it threw me off. Okay, couple of things you said there. So a couple of questions. Meanwhile, I also wanted to address Ozan's question too in terms of the disallowed goal. I'll be honest, like even with the disallowed goal, it was one of those where you're like, it could have changed the game. You never know how the momentum will switch, right? And what will happen. But at the same time, man, like some of these, we do this, right? Like when the team plays really poorly, even if you get robbed, we're like, well, we didn't deserve it anyway. But to be fair, Van Dijk and Slot both said after the match that while they complain about the call a little bit, it was, Slot flat out said like it would have been undeserved if they ended that first half 1-1. But, we won some games where it was not deserved as well. So, but you said something about players not being able to do the 3 games, which I definitely agree with. And I kept saying it all week that this is great, but the alternatives you have on the bench are not going to be able to do the same job that the guys are doing out there. And I'm not saying ability-wise. I think Kirkes can do what Robertson does, but I think right now, tactical maturity-wise, I don't think they can. So you were not able to rotate, and I think we're seeing that we can't do it 3 times. But having said that, doesn't that also fall on Slot? Because he knows what legs he has. And when you see it not working, I think the main frustration, we're going back and forth with like Discord, the main frustration comes back from, then why are we not changing or adjusting? Because the first half was abysmal. And it didn't feel, I honestly think like when we recovered in the second half, a lot of that was, City started the mercy rule. And it was like, after 3, they were like, yeah, I think we're good. Just taking Doku out by itself was like, you know what? Okay, like we'll take him out because it's like you had a dog that was barking. They're like, we'll take him inside. Okay, like it's like bothering everybody kind of thing. And they took him away. But what do you make of that? Like, Jason says it all falls on the coach. Do you put it on the coach? Do you put it on the managers? There were some people putting it on Van Dijk yesterday, which I do not agree with. Konate is obviously was like extremely poor, but where do you put the blame? Because I think that's what we're coming back to.
Yeah, the famous blame pie, the Timuchin blame pie. Where do we put all the slices? Slice it up. If we're gonna slice it up, I think you've got to look at about 65 to 70 slot, and then 35 to 30 on the players. Because again, he sees what they're doing throughout the week, and he's more privy to things that we don't see. All we see is what happens on the pitch. And right now, what's happening on the pitch, it, like you said, looks like a bunch of players not understanding what they're supposed to be doing together. It's a bit disjointed, but also at the same time, it feels like everyone's trying to do something a little different and trying to get the best out of themselves by overdoing it themselves at times. I think we've seen it across like the front line, especially with Beerts misplacing a couple bad passes that you typically you don't see, because that's not when you signed him for those passes that he makes, that he sees. Mo misplacing a lot of passes that he normally doesn't, or not passing in moments where he used to pass, right? Or Gakpo missing sitters. I mean, it's just like there's little things where all that stuff together doesn't work. But the problem is that if Slot doesn't believe in the depth that he has to change things up, then I don't know where we go from there without buying more players, which seems really crazy to say after a window of $500,000 spent, right? Is because it seems like we want to play this high press system still, not like the Klopp gegenpress, but it's still a more controlled high press that limits the chances that you take when you have the ball, right? I think that's what we were talking about last year too, right? You get the ball, you don't take as many risks with the ball, but you still control the ball, you control the game. The problem now is that we have this, specifically when Gakpo and Mo are up in the front three, where you don't have that press, you don't have that control. And so it makes you feel like, well, yes, you might lose something attacking wise if you do a Chiesa instead of Mo, for example, but maybe you get more out of the attack because you win the ball back earlier, because you have these guys playing the press a little bit better. So I don't know. I mean, if I knew what the fix was, I wouldn't be sitting here. No, and I can only say so much, but I think Slot has to either adapt with who he has or find a completely new system that works more regularly, because right now just the consistency is not there.
And we've been talking about it, like, especially like on Monday nights for quite some time in terms of like the future. This is like, like building towards the post-Mo world, if you will. I don't know, like you initiate that plan now just because it feels like you are not getting the most out of what you have. AR says Veers is weak, gets bullied. Yeah, he does look, but I mean, that's going to come over time, right? Like adjusting to the physicality kind of a deal. I mean, there are times yesterday, I mean, he earned them 2 yellow cards just by himself, by getting past people. So he was the only person who could actually take people on, it felt like. My thing is, there are so many times where he has the ball, he looks up. I mean, same thing was happening to Mo and stuff too. Like we were still catching our breath. I mean, talking about, I think Bob was talking about like counters. We were still catching our breath by the time, we should be actually increasing numbers up top. Nobody, it felt like, had the legs or the energy to build numbers up top. So you would put, let's say, Mo or Veers in a good situation on the wing, but they have nobody to go to. It's just them. And eventually what happens is they get crowded, because obviously if you're covering an area as a defender, well, there's nobody there. Like there's nobody coming up to you. You're just going to go double up the winger. I mean, you can go help your right back, and that's what was happening. Like suddenly he would have the ball. Maybe he would get past somebody. He looks up. There is nobody. So he's kind of dwelling on the ball. Before you know it, he's got 2 guys on him and he gets out muscled. And honestly, if you got 2 muscled guys on you, a lot of wingers would get probably muscled off the ball. But Bob says Sissine is too slow to sit back. I'm assuming he says only way to sit back is to play Ekitike and Isak up front. And AR was talking about, I don't agree to this, and I think it's extremely unfair, because unless we go back, AR, and you said this during the summer, you can't say it now. I mean, because there were not questionable signings at all when we did this, right? Like when we got Frimpong, everybody exactly. Kirkes was the best. Or like you got the best striker in the league in Isak. You got the best left back in the league last season in Kirkes. So they were not questionable at all. I would argue that, you're not putting him in a situation to succeed. That would go on the slide. And confidence has a lot to do with it in this game. Confidence has a lot to do with it. But I'll ask you that because the last part of it, I do agree that more than what we play, it feels like the fight, like we are fought, like we lose out every second ball, or we get all muscle release. It feels like we're not only weaker, but we don't have, and it's too cheap over criticism, but they don't have the desire to as much as the opponent kind of a deal.
No, the hunger isn't there. You don't have them winning the balls in the midfield that you see other clubs doing, right? And I don't know if it is part complacency with winning the title last year. I don't know if it's part complacency with not having competition for your spot, because in some cases, when you talk about like Konate, for example, there isn't competition for his spot, right? For Van Dijk, there isn't competition for a spot. For Mo, there isn't competition for a spot. For Ekitike, while Isak is hurt or vice versa, there's going to be competition there. So that feels like one of the few positions where there actually is some sort of skin in the game, if you will, and across the midfield too. I mean, it seems like there's no competition for McAllister, Gravenberch, and Soboslai at this point, because that's going to be the same three, which is fine because that's what we wanted too. We wanted consistency.
Yep.
But then you have to see that sometimes that can lead to complacency if when things are going well, or when things aren't going well, it just compounds all of those mistakes and all of those decisions. And so I think the hardest part is just watching that desire not be there. We've loved watching this club even throughout more miserable years, because we felt like there was always something. There was some sort of fight from the players, right? Like we could be finishing 6th or 7th, but when you go away to Old Trafford, or when Man U comes to Anfield, like there is that fight there. That it feels like there is something there. This year, especially, that game didn't feel like there was anything there. And I think that's the most damning thing, is that it just doesn't feel like there is that. I don't want to say passion because it sounds cheesy, because then you'll have people like, well, Nunez played with passion and Diaz played with passion. It's like, to a certain extent, sure, but they also played their own game too.
Yeah, but in some ways, I think definitely not Nunez. Let's not start missing Nunez kind of a thing, because we're not. But the Diaz thing, I mean, yesterday I was thinking, they had Doku, right? I mean, look at everything they created was Doku isolated on like Bradley, because they knew Mo's not going to be there, and Gravenberch did not help as much. I don't think he had a good game either. Not that, a lot of, players had good games, but we had that in Diaz. I don't think we've ever replaced that in Diaz, where, you can have somebody just cause some chaos by himself. And we always, I mean, chaos that he didn't even know where he was going half the time once he started dribbling. And that's the kind of chaos. I mean, I feel like Doku is pretty much the same way, where he is kind of like just going at it, sometimes cuts in, sometimes his end product is not great. I mean, that goal is the first time I've seen that guy actually take like a solid shot, to be honest with you, the third goal, because his usual end product is not like great. But Riti, wrong week, man. Wrong week to be coming in and saying this. You're 2 weeks or so late, because I think that's, and I hate to say it, but I probably would rather have City win this thing at this stage than Arsenal, just because of people like Riti. But here's the thing. I can't find the comment now, but Bob says he makes Konate his playmaker with all those backwards and sideways passes. Here's my frustration with that. I mean, he is not making Konate the playmaker. Slot is not saying, when we go out there, the plan is not to like, let's build the play through Konate and stuff. But other teams are saying, we'll let him have the ball. Like Van Dijk is not going to be able to have the ball. The right back is not going to have the ball. He can have the ball. You do your thing, buddy. And they let Konate have the ball. They did this in the past as well, right? But isn't it kind of Slot's responsibility to get us out of that? Because now that's the guy that's in really, really poor form. Maybe 1 out of like 5, 10 passes, achieves something positive. That's where I get frustrated, and I feel like, okay, we're seeing this over and over again. I'm seeing it, you're seeing it. Everybody like maybe thinks like that's the system. I guarantee you that's not the system. Isn't a Slot's responsible to say, hey, okay, you know what, we're gonna drop back Gravenberg or whatever it's going to be. We're going to bring Veerspector to grab the ball or something where somebody who's good on the ball drops back in between the center backs, like we used to do back in the day, whether it was Henderson or Fabinho or somebody, drop back in between two center backs. The lack of change, I guess, is frustrating because it's not working and you're kind of like really forcing it on your guy with the poorest form on top of it.
First form that leads to the least amount of confidence, which then leads to making bad decisions in the back. Like him and Bradley getting stuck together and that bad clearance leading to the penalty in the in the 8th, 9th minute. That was just a microcosm of the season right now, right? You have a bad pass that gets misplayed, and then you have no communication in the back, and you have your center back essentially clear it away from your right back to the opposing team and then give up a penalty at the same time. So that is in essence like what the defense has been this entire year so far, unfortunately. But yeah, you're right. And I don't know, maybe part of it is we have to remember that the other team makes tactics against us as well. I think a lot of people will always say, well, Slot is 100% at fault for every single thing. Because he has to change his tactics. He has to do that. He has to do this. And perhaps he changes tactics thinking that a team is going to set up a certain way. And then Pep comes out, plays a completely different way. And, you have Keith Andrews come out, play a completely different way. Right. And then you have these moments where last year we saw, okay, that's what happened. That's fine. Second half comes out. We make the changes that we need to make. And then things go anew. Whereas this year, it feels like we're seeing what happened last year in the first half. We're not seeing what happened last year in the second half, where we actually have changes that influence the game beyond the players, because actually tactically get influenced as well. Just feels like we sort of keep doing the same thing. And then after the game, say, well, we created the chances, so, it could have been better.
Yeah, that's the frustration, I think. And I know, like, we talked about this last year, right? When he was making the adjustments, we were like, okay, like, is he making adjustments or is he getting it wrong initially every single freaking time and has to make adjustments? And that's a little bit of that. Wes says we were willing to give Leone a shot. I mean, to be honest, like, Leone he was there during the EFL Cup where it was all like backups. I don't know if he would eventually make his way in. Why Gomez is not getting a shot right now, I'm not sure, because at least he's better on the ball. And I don't agree. I think Wes was saying Konate is getting the slack a lot for covering Van Dijk. I don't think so. I just feel like that right-hand side is under immense pressure because you still have Mo as like the free goal, like not defending. You have Bradley, and you're not sending as much help there. So everybody is overloading that side. Konate is not good enough to deal with an overload, is basically what we come down to. Because if they can't do that on the left, because we can kind of handle that better on the left, I think Van Dijk can direct that traffic better. And I think McAllister is better in covering those areas. We make Gravenberg the best because we see him on the ball, but I think defensively, he can't do the job right now that we used to get from, like Henderson and stuff, covering that right-hand side, making sure that right side, if you're going to have Mo up top not coming back, you need one midfielder to kind of slide over there and park their butts so that they cover that right-hand side. I think we're kind of like, throwing him under the bus, and the guy is already in poor form. I'm talking about Konate. So why force the issue? I just don't get it. That's the part that's frustrating to me manager-wise. I don't look at the starting 11 and be like, oh, he got it wrong. Because I thought, that was the same team that went against Real. And let's face it, I mean, City was a ton better than Real. I mean, that's, like the way they got out of our press without having to play long ball, it felt like Real Madrid could not do that. They had to boot it out. Like they could not play through that press at all. I don't know if it is because I'll ask you that. is City just that much better than Real against the press, or was it more on the tired legs not being able to press as well as they did on Tuesday? Mind you, City played on Wednesday, so they had 1 day less rest than we did.
Well, you're gonna love this answer.
A bit of both.
A
Here it
little
comes.
bit of both. Yeah. I think Real is right now specifically. Real is a mix of players who are also trying to find a way to play with each other. It seems that they're much more disjointed than the City side. City, as a unit, play better together overall than Real Madrid does. I think Real has, you could say better players at more positions when everyone's fit, but that doesn't really mean much when you could also say that Liverpool has better players in most positions when they're fit too, technically, right? It's all about how they play together. And Pep, he is going to go down as one of the greatest managers of the sport of all time for a reason. Not that Xabi Alonso isn't going to get there. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But we've seen the proven track record, the proven success of Pep and what he is able to get out of his players and get out of City. And I think, one of the comments saying that this was the biggest game of their season so far, probably, right? Because in both cases, for both teams, you just saw Arsenal drop points against Sunderland.
Yep.
And I think this, for us as Liverpool fans, was probably what made it even more frustrating, was that because of the result that we saw the day before, we thought, this is the moment. If you're going to get back into the race, this is the moment that you do it. And both teams had that same thought. So unfortunately, they were just up for it a lot more than we were. And ultimately, that's when you have that hunger and you have a good setup and you have players doing what you want them to do and you have them executing what you want them to do, it leads to just an absolute great game from all sides. And Doku, honestly, I know many fans have given him a lot of shit over the last couple of years because he kind of just like a dribble merchant with no end product, right? Like, yeah, he's quick sometimes, he can get by a defender here and there, but he can't make the pass. He can't take the shot. He can't put the shot on frame. And yesterday it felt like everything he did was just perfect. He played an incredible game, and as much as Bradley, I think, did okay, there needed to be more help. And it felt like almost like back when Trent was back there. And it's just like, why don't we just send someone else over, or why not make him go this way or that way? But you could tell that Bradley was trying to do his best and hold his own, but it was just, Doku was just he just played out of his skin. I mean, he played an incredible game, and sometimes you just have to give credit where credit is due. As fans, you have to appreciate your team when they're doing well. You have to appreciate your team, when they're doing poorly, but you also have to appreciate the talent on the other side. And sometimes they just have a better game.
Yeah, I think that Bob makes a good point. I guess the Real was played in Anfield, so there's that impact as well. I just feel like we were more ready for that game in Champions League, and I think Ozan was asking about like Champions League earlier. Yeah, we did make Nico Gonzalez. I mean, I remember when the lineup came up in Discord, Kazi and stuff was like, "Oh, great, Nico is by himself in that midfield. We should be able to run over him and stuff." But we just could never get the ball and look up. It felt like we could not hang on to the ball and we could not win it back. I mean, Ed says Brad did the best. I think, I don't put a lot on Bradley. I mean, he shut down like Vini. Yeah, Ozan says he used up all his energy, Mark and Vinny Jr. I mean, he shut down Vini. I think what you get with Doku is a bit more physicality too. Like Vinicius is more about pace, whereas Doku has a little bit of both. But yes, up until now, he was kind of like Adama Traore minus the oil. But like in terms of having the dribble, being able to change angles, and being strong, but not being able to freaking like deliver the final pass or the shot and stuff. And unfortunately, he did it all yesterday. Arsenal won't win the league. Yeah, I mean, I'm at the stage. Okay, where are you at with this? Like, I hate to say it, but I rather have City win because Arsenal fans are really unbearable in some ways. Like, I just cannot stand. First of all, I can't stand Arteta. I don't have the same dislike against Pep, because I know everybody like considers him a checkbook manager and stuff like that. But no, I mean, there are a lot of managers who get a lot of money. This dude has his teams play a certain way and like successfully. So I would be rooting for. First of all, do you consider us out? Because only 1 week has passed since the Villa game.
Yeah, I mean,
and we are still the same points behind.
It's again, fans are fickle. I mean, that's the thing. We go back and forth every week, and I think and that's what I hate from watching, certain shows and pundits every week talking about, or you see a YouTube video with the headline of Arsenal, are they title contenders still? And then the next week goes, Arsenal title favorites, no contenders other than Arsenal. And then the week after that, Arsenal not title contenders anymore. And it's just like, do we have to do this every single week? But then I do the panel show on Tuesdays and I ask them, is Arsenal well ahead of the league? Is it it's way too early still. Absolutely way too early. I think this is going to sound absolutely blasphemous, but I think that Liverpool is still in it because I don't think there's enough consistency across the top 5, 6 that could be in rough contention come February, March, April, where I feel like it's not going to be a situation where it's done and dusted. And I don't think there's one. If City play like they did yesterday throughout the rest of the season, I think that's a clear case of, okay, they're winning the title. Because I think if they have all the parts working the same way that they did yesterday, especially if Doku can start hitting the back of the net, which is what they've missed over the last couple of years, then that changes a lot of things for them. So if we see that from City more consistently, I think I can say that they might run away with it, but I don't think they're consistent enough, and I don't think Arsenal's consistent enough. Chelsea's not consistent enough. Obviously, Liverpool's consistent in losing, but if things turn around, you never know. So I don't think any one team is clearly ahead of another quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, looking at these standings and you see the form on the right-hand side, it's amazing to see our form. And I can't remember the last time I saw that. It's been a decade or so since we done that bad. But Kevin says he just watched the game and City were to be with I don't know about that. I thought we got outplayed. I had to give that to City. I mean, we got outplayed to the point where I was like, damn, they're just like way too good today, especially that first half. And I think, like I say, if we rebounded a little bit in the second half, it wasn't mostly to us. I feel like it was more like they took their foot off the gas pedal a little bit, especially once it was 3-0, because I was like, oh, this can get really ugly. Did we have moments where you could turn around, obviously disallowed goal, which is total bullshit, by the way. So that should not kind of go by the wayside, especially knowing the same ref gave the one for the Bernardo Silva, who was more in vision than Robertson was yesterday, mind you. So the total inconsistency that we always talk about is involved. But sadly, we can't even talk about that because I know maybe would have changed the momentum, but we got so outplayed in that first half. That would be unfair to finish that half. And even Slot admitted that it was going to be unfair to finish that half 1-1 in the first place. But let me get some hope in the system over here, right? Because only 1 week passed since last week and everybody's on the ledge again. So come inside, close the window. It's getting cold out there. So it's freaking November. So let's look at the schedule coming up because I think this is where we might be able to, if you come back hot, which is a big if, and I don't know if we will. I don't really see it fully either. But when you come back, first of all, you have a lot more home games where you play Forest at home, then you play PSV at home for Champions League, away to West Ham, home Sunderland, away to Leeds, then away to Inter, and you play Brighton at home, away to Tottenham, and then you have 2 back-to-back games at home against Wolves and Leeds. And then Fulham before you play Arsenal. So you have a lot of games over there I just listed. Do you see? Because I can see us going on a crazy run of 5, 6 games looking at the schedule. You don't win it on paper, but if the team comes back proper, the fixture lines up where you can get a hot streak going. Am I being too optimistic here?
Yes. No,
Yeah, this is, as Ozan says, when was the last time we came in hot? I don't know. Like there's a first for everything.
um, I, which is weird having you be the optimistic one because that's typically not how this channel goes
No,
historically.
and honestly, it's because I see way too much negativity and like toxic negativity that I feel like I have to like tip the balance the other way a little bit. And yeah, I end up being the positive one somehow now.
Which is good. We need a new, like a this the character trope for you. We're going through this next season where you're growing as a person, and we get to see the optimistic Timochin, and then you'll get your villain era back again, maybe in a couple of years or so. We'll see. But yes, I think there should be a little bit of a level of optimism, only because the teams that you're playing against are all teams that you should be beating. Now, I know that there were a couple of games that should have ended up as wins as well, but you can't play the should have, could have, would have game. You can only play the game of what actually happened and what happens. So on paper, if you are going to mount some sort of challenge for the title or top four, let's say top four, right? This is the stretch where you need to get the most out of your players. You need to get the most out of the results of every game. The problem is with how congested and quick those fixtures are coming. If you can't lean on the depth of your other players, it could quickly go south again because you're relying on players who are playing too much and they can't do it. Ideally, Ali comes back healthy, which can we just really quick just say that I remember seeing some comments about Freddie Woodman being better than Mamardashvili based off that one League Cup game. I think someone was saying, "Oh, his distribution is so much better. I prefer him in goal to Mamardashvili."
I can only imagine who said that on Discord, but keep going.
Yeah, it's crazy to me to think that we wrote off this keeper after a couple games with some of the worst defense we've had in the last 6 years. While he's still making pretty incredible saves, yes, his distribution isn't as great, but that's not what he was brought in. He's a shot stopper. The distribution is stuff that you work on. It's easier to work on your distribution than it is your shot stopping and your actual presence in goal. And so, but Ali coming back, maybe that'll help with confidence for Konate. Who knows? But then you also have Frimpong come back. Maybe you have more options on the right side there. You have Isak come back. You have more options in the center, and then maybe have more options than out left because you could do a Kirkez, you could do it at Ekitike or a Wirtz or even Gakpo still if you feel like that's what you need to do. And then maybe Kirkez gets the extra couple weeks. Maybe he has a bit more confidence. So in a perfect world, it seems like, yes, this is the moment where everyone comes back, and this is where the ball starts really rolling. And I will be on that optimist train with you until we're proved otherwise, dropping points to Leeds.
I was going to say, that's what I'm writing for the next 2 weeks because it's going to be unbearable. I just know it's how the feedback is going to be online. Bob says if you win the next 9, gap is going to be 2 to 4 points.
27 points. Wow. That'd be pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, and that's that's not like a crazy take because if you win 9, all they have to lose points on is if they lost points on one of those 9, you're automatically down to 4 to 5. So if they lose points on 2 of them, yeah, it's automatically going to be 2 to 4 points. And so, I mean, I guess the biggest thing is do we win the next 9? That's where we're going to, and it's probably Here's the thing: like if another team said that. I mean, look at the guy, United fan guy's hair, right? Like, trying to get 5 back-to-back to get his haircut or whatever. Like, if looking at the form, like in the standings, where you lose your last 4 out of 5 in the Premier League, it is probably a little ballsy to say if we win the next 9 kind of a deal. But the schedule makes it, I think, possible for one. The fact that there's so many more home games make it possible. And I don't know. It feels like it can't get any worse in some ways. Like they have to be able to figure it out. Yes, it is going to be unfortunately. I mean, to be fair, he's probably rooting for like not to because he made a career out of it. We would keep talking about him on Rival Bros with Edip. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Trying to keep the positive outlook over here. Hopefully, nothing health wise happens over the international break. I don't know who's going, who's staying. I know he said Ali will be back after the international break, but he wasn't as optimistic about Frimpong.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's a hamstring kind of makes it bad because you don't want to bring him back too early. You got to be safe and stuff like that. But I don't know. I would hope that as we approach January, I don't know if he will take more chances. I think he's not using Gomez as a right back now due to not wanting to have all three of your center backs on the pitch at the same time, whereas you'll be able to take that risk. Because I think Ozan was asking earlier. I mean, I think if nothing else, hopefully the Gahey deal will go over the line and you'll get some like stability on the back line. But I am not. Would I forgive an 8th place Premier League finish for a 7th title? I still said, and I was called crazy, and this is before the Real game, so you're my witness here, that I still think this team goes really far and possibly wins the Champions League, because it's built more to it in the sense that if it's one game, like, where we go, it's got the Real Madrid game kind of a deal. And I can see us kind of, if the league is going like this, we're like 7-8 points behind. I can see us saying rotate on the weekend in the Premier League and keep your starting 11 in the Champions League and stuff like that too. So it could possibly be something like that. I just don't see us staying that low, especially looking at the fixture.
Yeah, and looking at which clubs are ahead of Liverpool in the standings, there are a couple of clubs there that you see that are going to lose a lot more points, I think, as the season progresses too. And winning the Champions League gets you automatically in for the next year as well. So, so it doesn't matter if you finish 15th, if you win the Champions League, you're back in it next year. And so I do agree to your point that this team seems to be built better for the one-off. Hopefully, over 2 legs against certain teams, it's not as disastrous going away, because I think that's what's going to ultimately decide how well this team does in Champions League is the knockout phase, when you see them go away to a side like Bayern, to a side like PSG that we saw, right? So I think that'll be really telling. But I would absolutely take 8th place if it means getting a Champions League title. I mean, we always talk about the Knights, the European Knights, and having that history in Europe, and that's just adding to the history of Europe, right? So especially, if Arsenal don't win the Champions League or the Premier League, then, us as fans, we'd be all over that, because you get to continue celebrating a European win with Arsenal not winning anything again.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. Like I say, I've been seeing that I've been saying it for a few weeks now, because I feel like it's built, and I was more saying it because I felt all these new pieces that, Josh says, like, we're trying to shoehorn, is going to be in place by then, and we're going to be, I feel like it might be too late for the Premier League by the time we get our shit straight with who we have. But it's not going to be, it's going to be prime time. It's going to be similar to what PSG did last year, like hit your stride right when it counts kind of thing. But Josh says time for slot the man up and make tough decisions. Yeah, screw the hurt feelings thing. If you deserve to sit, you sit. Yeah, it's almost like I feel, and he did make the change, right? Like, he did make a few changes, and I think this helps. If he was thinking of making changes and didn't want to ruffle feathers or hurt feelings, like Josh says, this form basically almost helps you, gives you a hand to say, hey, you know what? It's time to make some changes, man. It is what it is, kind of thing. Obviously, this is not working, kind of thing. I feel like it gives him a new hand over here. I know we're trying, man. We're trying. I don't know if we are or not, but we're definitely trying to make an effort. But hey, on a good news, we'll talk about that on a lighthearted note over here. Ozan is in the audience. I don't know when the last time Ozan was. I have only attended. So, for those of you who don't know, my daughter Jasmine is getting married next August. It's official, date is set, and all that kind of stuff. And she was like, hey, like invites the American Scouser gang as well, because obviously it knows, we're pretty much, especially our core group over here, we've been together for a long time, and we're basically like close friends because of that. Oh, Jamie's in the audience too, so maybe Jamie will know. Hold on. So we're going to be doing the wedding. It is not like a Turkish wedding or anything like that. Obviously, I'm going to be I might possibly with my brother be the only Turkish people in there, for God's sakes. But it's actually at a Polish, I can't remember the name of the place, but it's like a Polish place. Actually, they're doing it in, because Ryan, Jasmine's, and obviously my future son-in-law over there has like some Polish in the blood and stuff. So Matush I sent you the invite. So we're joking about, we've been joking about with my brother about bringing some like Turkish flair to this thing. Like you really, whatever that is, like we were making like stupid things. So give me one Polish tradition that you'd be able to bring. Mind you, this is not ultimately a Polish wedding. It just happens to be at a Polish community center or whatever it is.
That I have to bring to
that
this
you
wedding?
would bring, because honestly, I have not. The only Turkish wedding I've been to in my entire life, because obviously I've been in the U.S. a lot longer than I've been back home. I've been here since like college, so is where I can like my brother's wedding. So not a lot of experience. There you go. See,
I mean, so traditionally, okay, here's the tough thing. I'm sure it's similar in Turkey, where certain regions of Turkey have slightly different traditions when it comes to weddings or celebrations or birthdays or whatnot. Because in Poland, depending if you're more from the northern side or the southern side, you do things a little bit differently. But all in all, yes, vodka is a big thing. Like every single table at the wedding has a bottle of vodka, and yeah,
it's sort of like house wine. It's like a bottle of vodka.
Yeah, and everyone has shot glasses. So ideally, you have someone that pours the entire table around a shot, and then every once in a while, you take that shot with everyone. And and so that's a big one. The other one is bride and groom, they throw salt over their shoulder and then take a bite of bread and then take a shot of vodka and then throw the glass behind them. It could be plastic if you don't want broken glass.
What's the point of this? Because they don't have tequila in Poland, or what? What?
No, it's just so I don't know what the point is. It's just something that.
No, I mean, is there like a thing to it? Because there's like, I mean, I was sending Jasmine videos just to mess with her, and I was like, "Hey, is the place big enough for Edip and I to do this like dance and shit?" Not that Edip and I even know how to do the goddamn dance in the first place, but I was just like messing with her, and she knows I'm messing because she was like, "Yeah, it's more than big enough. Bring the people over," kind of a deal. But there's a lot of things that I have no idea what they are. I mean, it looks like it changed. I was on a YouTube thing, like looking at different like Turkish weddings and stuff just to mess with Jazz, and I've never seen half this stuff. So they're like, depends on like where in Turkey you are and stuff like that, like the regions and all that kind of stuff. The salt over the shoulders for good luck, says Jamie.
Yeah, that could be it. All I know is that that's happened ever since like 2012. That didn't used to happen. So that's a new tradition that we've taken up, to be fair to everyone. I know that sometimes with the vodka shot in the bread and salt, in the older days, one shot would be with water and one shot would be with vodka, and whoever was the dominant person in the relationship would take the shot of vodka, and the less dominant person would take the shot of water. I don't know.
Okay, that's really emasculating for the girl to take the shot then, right?
I don't know if they ever did, but that was
you're like announcing to the world who's wearing the pants.
Yeah, exactly. And also I know, like, from where I'm from, in more southern part of Poland, we're more Highlanders, so the garb is a lot different. The dresses, the suits, just the actual just what you wear is a lot different. There's a lot of horses involved in carriages, and a lot of cold cuts, a lot of sausage, a lot of cheese, a lot of that.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I did not know this, for example. Ozan says, is this like a Turkish thing, dude? Because I have no idea. Like, I've never even heard of this. Break a pomegranate. The more it breaks, the more prosperous the couple will be. Dude, you might be see now I don't know who's making what up and who's real because I've never heard of that either. But then again, Edip says a lot of things I never heard of, and he's like, dude, this is like a big thing. And I was like, I've never heard of that. Like supposedly Turkish sayings and traditions he makes out over there. But yeah, I gotta yes, open to ideas over here. Send them our way. Hopefully it's at the same time, it's gonna be a mini American Scouser petting zoo in a corner table over there, which is really gutsy to have you and Bickler and Galley and, like Anan and stuff like that at a wedding, by the way. It's really, really gutsy. But hey, it's our wedding. It's our funeral. It could be our funeral at the same time, I guess. Like it's your hey, Tony is in the house. Yeah, I figure, at least we got that going in the background over there to make us laugh and stuff. Because honestly, what you see on the pitch is making more cry than anything else. There was some kind of a question though. I am not bringing Keshek, by the way, dude. That thing looked disgusting, so we're definitely passing on that. Edip ate it on the show in Rival Bros. If you want to find out anything or possibly about Turkish culture, yeah, watch Rival Bros where Edip introduces weird things. The good news is, I think the way I'm not participating in any of the wedding planning for obvious reasons, but from what I understand, like the place supplies they have the bar and stuff like that, obviously. So it's gonna be there like bartenders and stuff. And I guess all the alcohol is Polish. So good news there. You might have your
Actually, so even better than vodka is what's called cytrinówka, and
okay.
it's like a lemon liqueur, if you will. A lot of
Ooh.
the times it's homemade, and it is. I brought it to the wedding I was at this weekend. I brought it to the bachelor party a few months ago, and everyone dubbed it Polish Lightning. So ever since then, all they ask for is Polish Lightning. This shit is strong, and it hits you. It catches up to you when you least expect it, when you least realize it. You've taken 5 or 6 shots, you get up and you are just woof.
Is it like Rucka in that sense? Like, because when I can't drink Rucka, by the way, like Kevin was talking about, because I hate licorice. But if you like licorice, like it doesn't taste like it's strong. It's almost like peach schnapps or something like that. It's like very like sweet, flavorful. It's just like you drinking juice, but it is ridiculously strong. Is it like that where it doesn't taste strong alcohol, but it really hits you?
You can definitely taste the alcohol because they use spiritus, which is like essentially vodka. It's vodka, sugar, lemon is really what it is. So you can taste it a little bit, but it doesn't taste syrupy or fruity.
Okay. Tony says the YouTube setup has changed. Is it vertical? Are you on the phone though? That's another thing. I know, like we have this new thing now where you can kind of, when we're vertical now, you don't see us squeeze in the middle as a rectangle and stuff. But yeah, I would like to get some feedback because I know, like when we had it set up earlier, we were looking at it with Matush and it just didn't look right. But it would be good to know over here. It'll sounds tasty. But Kevin was asking earlier. Let's finish on with Liverpool, I guess. We'll have this wedding to talk about during the international break. So bring it for next Monday. Any ideas, any traditions? Ozan, dig them up and bring it. And then you should be digging up some Polish traditions just because we're going to be on location. And obviously they're members because they have the last name is Polish. So there's that. But Kevin was asking, why do a rebuild, I think he phrased it as, after winning the title? There we go.
Well, probably a few answers there. One, you have a manager that used the pieces that were there to make the most of it and was probably sold on an idea of getting his own players in. 2, you have success that you didn't expect. So all of a sudden, then there's this new set of expectations for him, even though the set of expectations at the very beginning were probably much lower than winning the title in the first year. So then that changes things. And then you have players that are not necessarily up to the level that you wanted them to be at. You have guys like Nunez where you've tried 3 years and it doesn't seem like you're breaking through, and you have to just sort of get what you can from them at this point. You've guys like Lucho, who I think a lot of people had commented on reels that we have saying, well, we should have just paid him but we don't know if he wanted to stay if he got the money, right? That's something that we can't necessarily answer. And so
we assume though, don't we?
We can, but you never fully know. It's easy to assume things.
Yeah, true. He might be like, yeah, I don't want to keep playing central anymore or whatever, which he wouldn't have to. We could say, and then here's another thing though. Like, I don't know if you extend him and give him more money, and if you're getting Ekitike or if you're getting Isak or both. Or
either. Right. And that changes everything. And then having the availability of getting Wirtz and Isak probably changes, maybe not necessarily what Slot wanted, but what the club wants and what the business decisions that they make. They see the availability of these players and they go, this is the kind of money we are willing to spend because we believe in these players, maybe with or without this manager specifically. If this opportunity comes up for guys like Wirtz and Isak, we're taking it. And, and then it's up to Slot to be able to then use that. And clearly he had a vision for it because we heard about him selling the idea to Wirtz. I don't think he necessarily sold the idea to Isak. I think Isak was already sold on this club before. It was just a matter of then just having it go over the line. So I think there's a lot of parts to why change things. Because I think if we kept the same 11 to 15 that we had last year, you see the same complacency this year. You see the same struggles. You see, I don't think you get anything more out of keeping that team this year than what you're seeing now.
I think here's another thing. Last time we won the title and we didn't do anything, everybody said fans are never happy, right? So like when we didn't do anything, they were like, you got to build from a position of strength and stuff. So everybody got on the club's case then when we didn't sign anybody. I think we only added Thiago at the time, right? That summer was like really quiet. So everybody was like unhappy then. So I think, I do not agree with this. I think that is way too early to be able to say that. I think if anything, what we're trying to do, I think somebody was mentioning it, maybe it was Bob in the chat earlier, like trying to shoehorn these guys into an established setup until maybe the old guys totally leave and we do the new setup kind of thing. I think we have to kind of make the decision and say, hey, how are we going to play? Like, what was the plan when we got these guys? Where we play with 2 up top, then it is two up top. And obviously Isak is not healthy to be able to do that. Where we're going to use Wirtz, what was the plan? And here's another thing. I think we knew there was going to be an adjustment time in terms of them coming to a new league for like Frimpong, for Kerkez. I mean, Kerkez is more getting used to the environment, I think, and maybe the style of play, because he was the left back, like the Premier League left back of the season and stuff. So people keep forgetting that, like thinking like we got this like young kid from Hungary or something like that. The dude was the best left back in the league. When we signed him, everybody was over the moon. I think it's just going to take time. The thing that makes it problematic, going back to what Kevin is saying, we did it on top of a title winning team. So the expectations are twice as much, right? Like we should be totally cruising. Whereas if you were like 3rd or 4th last year, I think everybody would be a lot more patient and say, oh, it's just going to take time for the pieces to fit in. So that's part of like the equation as well. And I think, that's another thing. We keep hearing about this. And I think, I don't think like it's like selling shirts. I don't think Liverpool needs to buy players to sell shirts. When you're winning stuff, you don't have to, like people would say that for like United, but that's because you're not winning, nobody is going to be like, proud to be going around. So you got to sell some names and stuff. I don't think Liverpool is in a situation like that at all, because you had a pretty relatively newer guys. Like that entire midfield is still relatively new. Szoboszlai and Gravenberch and McAllister and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think it's just going to take time. I have not joined this ridiculous Slot out group because I think it's like the easy way out. I mean, Slot is not going to make them. I don't think these guys are not playing for them or anything like that. I don't know. I don't know if it's like an excuse. It's a very legitimate excuse for some of them, mindset wise. I think we kind of forget that. I think people forget the impact it had on us, right, Mateusz? Like when it happened, us over here, where we were all like shocked, depressed for quite some time, and then we watched the ceremonies and stuff like that. This is us over here in a freaking rectangle online, way far away from that. So I can definitely think of how it would impact players more on a day in day out basis, because they live with this dude, they work with this dude every single day. And I don't know, the bad thing is, I don't know, like while there are great gestures, I don't know if having Jota's spot in the locker room still, having Jota's song in every 20 minutes still, I don't know if it's helping. I think they're both excellent tributes. I just don't know if it's helping. I mean, you and I, we talked about this before, like having, like lost our dads and stuff. Do you really need like a 2 o'clock alarm daily reminder? It's going to come to you anyway throughout the day, or something else you do, or something you say, or whatever, like, oh, he would say this, he would eat that, whatever, right? You don't need your alarm sets where you're like, hey,
think about this now.
that's right. Yeah. Here's your reminder.
Yeah, exactly. And it's everyone grieves differently, and it's fair to say that it's going to affect everyone differently. Even the players that were there with him, it's going to affect each one of them a little differently based on their relationships with him as well.
Yeah.
Right. So I think because I saw someone bring up, well, Kelleher's doing just fine at Brentford. Well, yeah, Brentford doesn't have the daily reminders that Liverpool has in the locker room, like you're saying, like in having those visual and those auditory reminders all the time. And for these players, getting on the pitch is the way that they can forget about everything, all the noise outside of football. But when that noise then comes back into the pitch, it's sometimes hard to be able to separate from that. And I get, I'm not trying to also, I guess, make excuse. I don't know. I don't like the word excuses. I don't think that's an appropriate word for this situation. Because I think there is a level to professionalism that these players still have a job to do. Same way, that some of us losing someone have to go back into work and have a job to do. But at our jobs, like you're saying, it's not like we have someone telling us, hey, think about that person again. Think about that person again. So, I think there could be a level to it for players who, not the new guys, because they didn't have that same connection to it. Yeah. But you want a team that is one. You want a team that is in unison. For better or for worse, when you're all doing well, you're all doing well. When you're all doing poorly, you're all doing poorly. When you're all feeling one way, you're all trying to feel one way. And so that could then blend into the guys that weren't there and they're feeling that. And it could be a very awkward thing. You're a new player to this club coming in second week of summer, third week of summer, whatever it was. The mood around the entire stadium, around the entire city is very somber. And this is supposed to be a celebratory time of enjoying a title and then building on that and coming to this place to play. And now you're in this weird headspace of like, well, everyone's grieving. This is really difficult to connect with these players because you don't want to seem maybe overly fake or like feel it too much and overdo it because you weren't there. Like we've all gone through that, like imposter syndrome thing where like, do we get to deserve to feel the way that we do about this because that person feels this way about it? Yeah. That's a hard thing to answer. And then you multiply that across the entire club, all the way to the staff, right? Because they were there every day as well. So they feel a certain way about it too. So I don't think it's fair to say that it shouldn't have an impact. But I do think that there's a level of professionalism that we eventually do get to. It's just a matter of when, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's the reason or anything like that, but it
Yeah.
has to be just one of the factors. It's never like one reason, right? But it has to be a factor like affecting things. I never thought of that. That's a good point. Like, there's so many new guys, it's awkward for them. And here's the thing, like, this is not a scenario. So maybe someone losing their dad was not even a good example in that sense, where this is not a scenario like anybody's used to. Like, none of these guys are used to. First of all, they're young dudes, that for one. But aside from that, it's not like they didn't lose a parent or anything like that. They lost a teammate. It's like a whole new scenario. The guys who went through it don't know how to react, leave alone. Like, I think we've all been around somebody who lost their loved one, right? And you might treat him a certain way. Maybe you want to, some treat him like over the top, some treat him like how they would want to be treated when they lost their loved one, which might not be the right way. But we all have, we kind of know, right? Like, what we would do in a scenario like that. This is a totally different scenario. Like, nobody knows what to do. Nobody knows how to act and stuff. And again, like, it's not an excuse. I don't think it's the reason, but I'm sure it's a reason in the background that's making things more difficult. Let's put it that way, making the adjustment and transition kind of like more difficult. But that'll be it for us today. I think everything went to normal because we went over an hour over there. Even StreamYard is like, you know what? No more vertical for you. Everything is back to horizontal again. But I'll be back tonight with Gally. I think Bickler is out and about and traveling. Bickler giving training sessions is really a scary thought by itself, but so for those of them going through that thing, it might be an experience. Brazy says maybe they should tell the fans, and that's another thing. I think that will be the transition eventually, out of respect for something like that, because it's weird. Pomegranates, yes, I'm gonna have to write this one down because that seems very easy and doable. Does she have to like smash him with her hand, or like is that a hammer, or just bite it off?
Make sure she wears a giant bib, though, because that's the thing I worry about with this pomegranate thing is you don't want those juices to get on the dress. That seems a little haphazard.
Yeah, right? Like, is there like a huge shield? Like like a SWAT team shield you have to have before me, or what?
The new husband stands in front of the bride and takes all the juices as she kind of puts her arms around him and breaks it open.
Oh, throw it in the air.
What if it doesn't break?
When yeah, do you just call the wedding off? You're like, you know what? This is gonna go
wrap it up
from there.
Everyone go home.
Rasta, what's going on, man? Good morning. Well, yeah, I mean, that knife and spoon. I don't know. Like, yeah, you throw. I would cheat. I would make like little slats in there, so like when you throw it up there, when it lands, the pomegranate blows up. Because he said something about the more it explodes, the more prosperous.
Correct.
You will be.
Apparently.
All right. Yeah, honestly, it was the only positive thing that came from this weekend with any team, anything I follow losing miserably over here. The positive thing, Layla was home this weekend, so we had some good fun. Yeah, I mean, trying to make the most of it. I think we kind of like at least we laughed a little bit. That helps because there wasn't a lot of laughing going on during the game yesterday. But
because if you don't laugh, you cry.
Yeah. Pretty much. Well, have a great week, everybody. Don't cry. It's the international break. That should make you cry by itself. But it is the international break. Have a great week. I'll see you guys tonight for the Monday night podcast. See you guys there. Take care.